You only get one body. You know, you get a car and you don't take care of it, you don't change the oil, make sure the maintenance is supposed to be done. You can go buy parts to the car, or you can buy a whole new car. You don't take care of these parts and this thing starts breaking down on you, you don't get to buy a new one.
Oh, it's normal to go to bed at midnight, wake up at 3:34 in the morning, get jamming. I'm just a different animal. This is why I'm ahead and people are behind. Yeah, but eventually your body says F you. Like, it doesn't matter what you're doing, how well you're doing it.
We're not trying to knock traditional medicine to the floor. There is a time and place for that, and it can be curative and it can be the most effective option, but it's not always the most effective option.
If you literally go through all of the contradicting studies and you go through all of the things you should take, you will die.
Yeah, well, and some people are buying every single one and taking them all. Yeah, that's right.
Try not to get too comfortable, and I gotta blow out my pants. I think the first thing for us deciding to jump into this thing for everybody is that we just need to explain our why so people understand our backstory, all the things that have kind of driven us to this point. Take a little time to say, hey, here's the cliff notes of my life, our relationship, our history, and why we're coming together. Both of us having so much going on. I'm AJ Asgary, pharmacist, been in the space with school 20 years now, something like that. Pretty dang close. 16 plus. Yep. Yeah. Very business minded.
Yeah. Cool. Oh yeah. Well over 2 decades.
Yeah. And for those of you who don't know, I mean, I know there's a lot of credentialed people in the space for biohacking and all that kind of stuff. We live, breathe, eat it. So it's not just stuff that we've researched. We're both actively in the midst of a carnivore diet. I'm tweaking mine because I have cholesterol stuff that you guys will get to see and share labs with you and other things. So you'll get to see all that stuff firsthand. I've gone from, a personal trainer that, from an overweight kid to full on bodybuilding for multiple years, doing all kinds of crazy crap to my body that I probably shouldn't have been doing, yo-yo dieting, all the stuff, while building different businesses and the stress that comes with that. And, here I am in my 40s and has some life stuff show up that have challenged, autoimmune things and other things in my life that have made us kind of rethink all the conventional medicine that we've learned in our careers. We'll get deeper into our stories, but both of us have been through some battles here in different ways, shapes, or form. My father died of ALS, so I've always got that fear in the back of my mind, even though it was a sporadic version. You can't help it. With some of the symptoms that pop up, your mind just goes, psh, So a lot of passion here around what we're doing, and we want to make sure we get that across. And I'll let Jason kind of explain his story and then our history. Our friendship began in pharmacy school and, blossomed into a brotherhood. So I'll let him kind of explain how that went as well. So if you want to share a little bit of yours.
Hello, I'm Jason Barrett. I'm a farm boy. I come from small town Oklahoma, was raised way out in the boonies for the first 20 years of my life. Eventually decided I wanted to go to pharmacy school, so I pursued that at an outside kind of a smaller college. Fast forward to getting into pharmacy school, met this guy, and I'm sure when he first met me, he thought, here's a country bumpkin.
Wearing whitey tights.
Exactly. I mean, and we got to know each other just through social stuff. Like you said, kind of had just a natural brother type bond, camaraderie thing. And before you knew it, we were roommates. And that was probably one of the biggest impactful things I've ever done. Was doing that because I got to see his lifestyle at this point was way, way out there for me, like way extreme. I'd never seen anything like that coming from a small town, but he had been a personal trainer. He was on top of his health, his diet, his nutrition. He had gone through struggles with his weight as a kid and told me, and I saw the pictures he showed me, and I saw he'd already gone through a transformation. And so me being there with him, I got to see the ins and the outs of that protocol, the diet, the being active, the working out, what it does for you mentally, physically, emotionally, everything gets upgraded. And we had an absolute blast in pharmacy school and beyond. Now, after that, real world comes and the stressors of real life, and you move on, you get married, you have kids, and you're trying to balance all that. And that's when some of my problems started to arise. It was actually after pharmacy school, after I'd become, and I was out working full time and trying to do all that. Long story short is eventually, once we got busy and we were both working, we weren't nearly as close as far as like working out together and eating and stuff like that. But circumstances.
Wet. This dude was
All right.
off the planet.
I'm not gonna lie. I was in honeymoon phase for an extended period. I'm not gonna deny.
Really?
And
That good.
anyway, we got beyond that, and eventually I landed back in Oklahoma. He had already moved back to Oklahoma. It was in a different spot. We got back in the same town here in Norman, Oklahoma. And once again, he came in, and we picked up right where we left off, like brothers. And boom, got back on it. You know,
You were in a bad spot when you
I was in a very bad spot. At this point, I was on, and we'll get to this in my story, but at this point, I was on some of the biggest guns you can be on in the rheumatology field. They're very immunosuppressive drugs. They're very powerful. They come with some nasty side. I'm sure you've seen the commercials with the 17 ways that it can kill you, and it might help you. And anyway, I was right in the middle of that whenever we reconnected. But those at the time were still working to some degree. They were actually doing the heavy lifting for me. They were really suppressing the inflammation. They're also suppressing my entire immune system and bringing a host of problems with them. But as far as those symptoms, at that point in time, they were still working. And I got back to a healthful state because this guy, again, motivated me, you know, like just being an accountability partner, putting in the work, feeding me the right, you know, motivational things. And
We started easy. It was a health club meeting every morning. Let's both walk and talk.
yeah, it was literally a walk and talk. And then it graduated up slowly until all of a sudden my body adjusted and we're back on the right track. Problem is, those big gun drugs, which I didn't know at the time, but they don't work forever. You know, 6 months down the road, they're not as effective as they were on day one. And 12 months down the road, some of them aren't effective at all. So I went through a whole slew of those and tried to maintain a little bit of, and I will say I was in a better spot, but it was still just a massive struggle. This whole time I'm working full time. I never took a break. These symptoms were very, very debilitating on every aspect of my life. But I had a family to provide for. It sucked, but I just bared the brunt of it and carried on. And then a little bit later down the road, the same brother, he's kind of pushing me and prodding me along, like, hey, you need to get away from corporate America. Let's go do something. Basically saying, if you don't want to, that's fine, but you're an idiot if you don't. But if you want to be an idiot, go ahead, you know. And so anyway, I finally pulled the trigger because of that. And I will say again, you know, that being forced out of that comfortable position and thrown into a whole new world and learning the ropes of doing your own business, and there's trials and there's failures and all that, but it put me in a prime position to where an influence walked through the door of the pharmacy that we co-own, that we opened back in 2019. And she ultimately, through a conversation with her, she was in the nutraceutical realm, kind of some of the outside of traditional medicine things that I honestly wasn't familiar with at all at this point. It was the first time I considered looking outside of what I had learned in pharmacy school.
medicine is drilled.
Modern medicine is drilled in, to everybody, but especially to us. We got a doctorate degree in that. So I was very, very, I would have argued with you till I was blue in the face that this is the way. I was an extremely compliant patient, but it didn't work for me. I was very skeptical of this advice that I was getting from this lady, but I've decided, you know what, I got nothing to lose. Let's give it a shot and see what happens. The best decision I ever made, definitely impacted me in the biggest way out of everything I've ever tried with diagnosis that I had. And now I can confidently say I'm on no drugs, not even a baby aspirin. I don't even have a rheumatologist at this point, which I had for over a decade. I still have to give this guy props for me being in that position to have that conversation, me being willing to listen to her. But if I had stayed with my corporate job, I'm pretty certain maybe by now I would have maybe heard a little bit, but I don't know if I'd still even be here because it was pretty dire at this point. So nothing but love for this dude. Several times he's just come into my life and at certain points
It goes both ways.
Right, it does, and I mean, and that's why I'm here for this dude. I mean, like, very, very, very passionate. It's very, very personal. I have lived it. I have breathed it. He has as well. Not only myself, he's in it. Yep, exactly. You're in it right now, 100%.
Yeah.
And I didn't know about that. He struggled with it out of my knowledge for at least 6 months. And then he called me one day and told me this story. And I mean, I was in disbelief, but at the same time, I know that it takes that long for that rug to be swept out from under you and not be able to find answers. And I can't tell you how frustrating that piece alone is that when you trust these doctors and you do all the research you can do and you got your everything, you're eating right, you're sleeping right, you're getting fitness, and you're talking to all the right people, and you're not getting the results that you want, there's nothing more frustrating than that. And especially if you're actually declining along the way and it's getting worse, you can't even stabilize it. It's just like you're standing on quicksand and you don't know, is there a bottom? Like, does this stop? It can get real hairy, real scary in no time.
And that's the thing too is, I mean, we've got access. I mean, I can pick up the phone, like with the stuff going on with me. I mean, I was able to pick up the phone and call a neurologist and say, hey, run these tests that would have never been run, quite frankly. But out of my fear factor, I'm like, hey, my mind is spiraling. I need you to do this for me, you know? And I don't think we sit here and say, hey, modern medicine is bad. No, it's just not the full picture. Right. And our goal is not to come here and say, hey, we know something better than somebody else. We don't. We just know how to navigate really complex situations. Mm-hmm. And I think our goal is, how can we coach people to navigate? And that may take modern medicine, that takes looking outside of the box, that takes a combination of things. Right. But what are the things like you can own and get control of in the journey? Because there's no worse feeling than the spiraling. That's terrible, you know. And for me, mine was very stress induced with all the businesses and all the things I had going on. And then you're on an island because nobody's in your head like you're in your head. And you just go down and down and down, which makes everything worse. Right. So accountability partner first. I'm calling them, hey man, I got to get out of this mental space and we got to do something. And sure enough, I mean, we're doing hot freaking yoga or whatever it is every single day, you know? So that's some spasms and other things. So I've always loved to lift heavy weights. Can't do it at the moment. So I got to go do something physically active. So again, accountability partner. Our goal is to be your accountability partner. Not everybody has that person in their life. I mean, if I look inward at my family, there's not a person, I'd have to motivate them to show up. Right. They wouldn't be showing up every time. The dynamic wouldn't work. Right. And most people are in that predicament. They don't have those people, or they're not in the same boat, or they're not living the same lifestyle, and it's hard. Like, be on an island and not have answers. And I'm telling you, I have connections. Like, the first neurologist I called was through a buddy of mine. I'm still scheduled 3 months from now. That's getting the hookup, except to get in early. So I had to call another neurology friend to say, dude, I can't wait. I'll do that one later, get a second opinion, but I need to go now. Like right now.
Yeah, 3 months. What can happen in 3 months?
Exactly. So, you know, and I'll wait personal docs and all that stuff just to get as many opinions as possible. All that to say, it's confusing. It's hard. Mm-hmm. You're relying on, in some instances, it's practices that are just corporately owned. They're busy. They've got 15, 20 minutes to see you. You're in, you're out. They've kind of heard your story. And again, no knock to anybody. Like, this is not a knock to anybody, but when it's you, you're the most important person on the planet. But you're a number, or you're a patient of multiple when you enter one of those spaces. Even our pharmacies, when you walk in the pharmacy door, if it's a busy day, there's a ton of stress, and you need one of our pharmacists' attention, you probably didn't get good attention that day.
No, it was overwhelming.
Yeah. Not because they didn't want to, not because they didn't care, none of those things. It was just, hey, your time slot didn't work out so well for you. And that time slot could have been the difference for you.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Like, I remember a few difference moments. You know, I had a lady walk in one time when I was still practicing in the pharmacy and complaining about her calves and the pain in her calves. And I looked at her and I thought, come here, let me see your calves. And they were hot and they were warm. I was like, I would go to your cardiologist now because I think it's a blood clot.
Yeah.
I was like, don't get scared. Don't massage it. Don't. And what happened? 2 days later, she came in. You saved my life. It was a 10-minute conversation.
There you go.
10 minutes. Right. But I could have been tied up. I could have had a pissed off customer.
That's all we're going to take. And that's you would have had that intervention and what could have happened in that. Right. Yeah. Right. Well, and to go along with what he said is, you know, especially since 2019 when we opened our own and I got to do it my way. It wasn't under a corporate umbrella anymore. And not to mention, 2020 was my year. That was my transformation year when I'd gone to that doctor and changed a whole lot of things up and really just figured a bunch of stuff out. I got a lot of answers that I honestly didn't think I was ever going to get these answers. But since then, I've shared this story with dozens of patients when they come in. And like he said, if I recognize something's going on, I can sense it pretty quick now because I lived it for so long. I can just you can pick up on it, go out and have a conversation, find out what's going on. And a lot more people than you think are struggling with very similar predicaments. A lot of people don't want to talk about it. They don't want to bring it up. Pharmacists are highly trusted professions, so a lot of them will open up, especially once they could tell that I cared and I was concerned with them. Anyway, I have been able to, just like that, have talks with dozens of people over the last 4 or 5 years and drastically improve their health in ways that I don't think they weren't getting it otherwise. And I can't tell you how meaningful and how fulfilling that is for me to have that impact on people that I can, see and they know my name. I know them on a first name basis and they get to see not only did it work for me, it's working. It's working. And it's not the traditional medicine that we were taught. And again, we're not trying to knock traditional medicine to the floor. There is a time and place for that. And it can be curative and it can be the most effective option, but it's not always the most effective option. Sometimes it can actually be harmful. Sometimes it can make things worse. And so basically through experience and gaining, we're in a unique position where we have that medical knowledge. We went to school and we got all that and we worked it. And if you work as a pharmacist today, you're still in it.
You're continuing education.
Oh yes, got to do a continuous education. And not to mention, you're just in the depths of all these current drugs and treatments and everything. You've got to know all this stuff to be a pharmacist. And so we're in it and we know it has a time and place, but also through real life experience have been forced to look outside of it to see if any of this, if there are other maybe more targeted things, maybe things that go to the root cause. They look further than, oh, you're autoimmune, you're just screwed. You can treat autoimmune, you can reverse autoimmune. There are answers, there really are, and you don't have to suffer for the rest of your life with this. Some people are convinced that they are, and I was one of them until essentially through experience I learned that there's other stuff. So that has been invaluable to me, and I know just from doing it for free, you know what I mean, just from doing it from my customers already coming in, my patients, and how much they appreciated it, how much they expressed to me just emotionally, and I'd do it 100 times over, you know what I mean?
And that's key for us. We've thought about breast because there are a lot of people who, as we've taken on more business, they need the help, and we can't. The only way we're going to help at scale is if we get a little uncomfortable and do things like this, put a camera in front of our face, and start to have conversations, and share as much as we can. I mean, at some point, yeah, we got to make some money to support all the things that we're doing.
Right.
But this is a heavy passion project, and so we both talked about this and we're both kind of punting it like, hey, let's finish this business objective. Let's knock this out. And then, hey, when we're old, let's chase our passion. And life sped that up. We realized
100%. I mean, you're thinking, oh, I'm going to live to a ripe old age of 80, 85 at least. And then all of a sudden, like, oh shit, could be tomorrow. Could be. You're not guaranteed. None of us are guaranteed tomorrow. You can catch a stray bullet, you can get in a car wreck, but you can get a medical diagnosis that's completely outside of your control. One thing that really helped, that I like to use is a good question, just a food for thought question, is, let's say I was going to give you $100 million today, but the one condition is that tonight at midnight, game over. You're done. You're dead. You're gone. You get $100 million, but tonight you don't live through the night. What are you going to tell me? You going to take the 100 million or not? No, you're not. So what does that tell you? That tells you that your life is worth more than 100 million, and I could turn that into any number, and your life's worth more than that. You only get one body. You know, you get a car and you don't take care of it, you don't change the oil, you don't make sure the maintenance that's supposed to be done to it is done correctly and it breaks down. You can go buy parts to the car, or you can buy a whole new car. You don't take care of these parts, and this thing starts breaking down on you, especially your vital things that you need, you might get on the transplant list and get a transplant. Plenty of people that have to do that for things that has nothing to do, that was in their control. Sometimes it's a genetic thing. But even then, your body's going to try to reject that thing. You're going to have to be on some pretty high-powered drugs to continue going. But my point is that if your body goes down or you do permanent damage to your body, you don't get to buy a new one.
That's what we were talking about. Yeah, as we were talking about this, we know there's a lot of people who are going to be struggling with stuff that come to us, and we do as much as we can for them. But there's a whole population of people, i.e. me, who thought I was bulletproof. I could take all the stress in the world, stack another business on, whatever it is, who should have been way more preventative. And I'm a healthy individual.
I was going to say, you were blending a whole lot of healthful things in there too. Yeah, your stress from work was here, but you were eating right, you were working out, you were doing a lot of things that should have, or prevent
even still, without appropriate coaching accountability. Because if someone was with me week in and week out, they would have been like, AJ, bro, you are way too stressed out.
Yep.
Like, you need to, let's go hit a meditation thing. Let's go hit whatever it is. Like, it would have been caught much earlier as I was in denial going, oh, it's normal to go to bed at midnight, wake up at 3:34 in the morning, get jamming. I'm just a different animal. That was my mentality. Like, this is why I'm ahead and people are behind.
Yep.
It's because I'm just willing. But eventually your body says, F you. Like, it doesn't matter what you're doing, how well you're doing it. Your body eventually says, F you.
Right.
And then you're stuck trying to figure out, okay, how do I undo?
Right. Well, and the problem, with science that we understand now is that you get those high stress situations or just whatever, you get the conditions right. Let's just put it that way. You can trigger a genetic thing, like an epigenetic thing where there's a gene that hadn't been on in your body, for 30 years or 40 years of your life or however long, whatever age you are when it happens. And then it gets turned on. And let's say it was a bad gene. It causes chronic inflammation, or it causes neurodegeneration, or it causes whatever. There's a whole slew of these things. The problem is once it gets activated, it is extremely hard to get the body to decide to deactivate that thing. It thinks it's doing the right thing, and it's actually destroying itself, and it's making you sicker. So it's very frustrating, because it's very punishing. Once it turns on, you have to. It'll completely rearrange your life, and you'll be the most health conscious person on the planet, doing everything right and still having symptoms, and it can be very defeating, especially if you don't understand that there are things you can do to make it a little bit better, just things that you can do that have nothing to do with your doctor or medicine at all, and keeping it in check. But it can lead to some, depression. It can affect your mental health, your emotional health. If you're not sleeping well, it's absolutely going to affect your physical health, your energy levels. That's going to bleed into your relational health with your friends and family. That's going to bleed into your financial health. What I'm trying to say is you can break health into a whole bunch of buckets. Every bucket will be affected. There's not one that's not. And so that's why it almost feels like a deathly, like a dark spiral, because this bucket gets hit and this bucket gets hit. And before you know it, you're like, how did I get here? It can't get worse. And then you wake up the next day and it's worse, and it's in your head. It's you live and breathe it, and it consumes you.
Yeah. So you can turn things on. Mentally, you can turn things on.
Yeah.
Silicone is incredibly powerful, and so you have to get out of those headspaces as quickly as possible. It's like when I went down the ALS spiral. I'm like, I got to get out of this headspace as fast as I can.
Yep.
So it can move on to the next thing and think objectively, right? And talking about someone who's should know better, who can't know better, who is just in it.
Right.
It doesn't help. I got a newborn right now, so my sleep is, and trying to work on that. So we have got more scheduled stuff so I can heal appropriately. But the big thing we want to get across here is This is full-on passion project. We're going to do as much as we can in free resources for you. We're also going to spend a lot of our time and energy putting material and university together to take it a step further. And that'll be some subscription we set up, and we'll do everything in our power to make that as affordable as possible for as much access as possible.
Right.
And then there will be a tier where we are going to try to free our schedules up to work one-on-one with people.
Absolutely.
This will be a very expensive tier on paper, but it will be the cheapest and best thing you've ever.
And it'll be limited. There'll be a certain number of clients that we'll do this with, and then we'll per year, and then we'll reassess and go from there.
And see if we need to bring more people on. It's expensive. It's not. I mean, I've done executive healthcare. I've done other things where it could be $50,000, $75,000, $100,000 a year for traditional style stuff. You're not getting one-on-one coaching. You're getting some labs. You're getting a thorough look through, and then you have access.
Right.
This is very different. This is full-on accountability. And so we want to be fair to every person we bring on. We don't want you to be that person I'm talking about when you walk in and you're distracted. So that one's going to be very, very targeted. We'll let you guys know. And it's geared towards people who are in the thick of it. And it's also our goal is to gear it towards preventing people from ever getting there if you do it.
Essentially, if you're all in, if you're to the point where mentally, some people they have to get sicker, like very sick, before they get to the point where they are willing. They're desperate. They're at rock bottom, is what I call it. They're backed in a corner. They're willing to take desperate measures. And what I mean is you have to be committed to doing. It's going to challenge your habits. That's definitely one of the hardest things for 100% of people on this planet to do, is to change a lifelong habit. Think of even doing something for 40 years, and someone says that's one thing you need to look into. And so if you're not willing to do that, I can't. I've always done that. I can't. When you run into problems like that, sometimes it's hard to work with a client. And so we are going to cherry pick, it's got to be the right client, because we want you to succeed worse than you do. And so we're going to hold you accountable. And like I said, going back to the $100 million analogy, if there's one thing that I've learned is, we invest in all kinds of things. Stocks, time into school to get an education, or you can invest time in a relationship to meet your significant other, and there's fruits of that. Well, your health is something that is probably the number one priority on the list as far as investing to make sure you have optimal health and striving for optimal health, because even in that striving for that, sometimes the rug can be pulled up from under you. There's stuff you can't see coming, and it shows up. But if you're actually putting an effort to be preventative and do everything you can to stay healthy, you're definitely giving yourself the best probability to live a long, healthy, not just a lifespan, but a health span, to be healthy for your life.
Yeah. I mean, living long sounds great.
Right.
But if you're going to die at 70, die at 80, if you could live any of those years, then golden. If you're sick for half those years, most of us are working till we're 65 or 70 to retire. I don't know if you checked lately. I think the average lifespan is 74? Something.
I think for women, it's like in the 80s. Men, it's a little lower.
70s.
I think it's high 70s, low 80s.
Somewhere in that. Don't quote me. I haven't looked it up in a while. I just know looking at it, I thought, well, hell. What are we doing here? So, being in my 40s, it's like I'm halfway there if I'm lucky.
Well, yeah. Well, and the thing is speaking strictly America, where we're ranked in the world versus where we're ranked for our health, it's embarrassing. It really is, considering all the money that we've poured into to the medical research and the technologies and everything we're doing compared to the rest of the world. We're not even in the top 50.
And I wouldn't even blame modern medicine. I'd blame modern lifestyle.
It is 100%.
I'm some modern lifestyle.
Right.
So the things we're eating and drinking and what we're doing with our day and the stress and
there is a reason why the rates of a whole bunch of things like metabolic disorders, diabetes, Alzheimer's, autoimmune conditions across the board, that can target anything. It's non-specific. When it pops up, it could be your kidney, it could be your brain, it could be, your joints, it could be diabetes type 1. It could be, I mean, there's a whole bunch of, it can manifest in a whole bunch of different ways. But the prevalence of these things, and I read an article just last week. I mean, this is just, I don't have the source, but I think it said by 2030, which is going to be here quickly. They're saying that they're expecting some of these rates to go to as high as 1 in 2 Americans.
Yeah.
I mean, if that's not concerning, and again, it's not modern medicine causing this, it's modern lifestyle. It's some of the things that we're doing and we consider normal that in other parts of the world it's not.
Yeah, we got to fix it, and we're not going to change the whole world, but we want to make a dent.
Right.
So we're going to try to make as many points as access as possible. And let me be real with you. Like, if we had all the time in the world, I would one-on-one coach everybody. Just impractical. That it's impossible. And we run a lot of other businesses too. So to go and take away time from those other businesses, then we need to structure everything appropriately to be able to do that. And I'm excited about doing that. I'm more than willing to sacrifice something over here to accomplish 100% what we're after. We'll come back, more specifics, obviously tell you guys about our stories. We'll try to chop content up as well, so you guys get little bits and snippets of things that we're going through. And then I still don't have answers to mine, you know. So surprises that show up that could be detrimental. They could be surprises that are enlightening, that give us a path. Yeah, I don't know. And so I'll be open and vulnerable enough to kind of share whatever that is, and let's hope the fate is good. If we can help one person, it's game changer. Mm-hmm. And if it's 2, it's even better, and so on and so forth.
Because when you're helping one, you're helping more than one.
Oh, everyone around him.
If it was in this case, he's a father, he's a husband, he's, I don't know how many businesses he's in and how many colleagues and friends, and the ripple effect, if we get him back to pristine health, is unquantifiable. I mean, you can't even put...
There's not a price tag.
You can't put a price tag. It's literally priceless. And it's going to affect multiple generations too, because he's going to be able to tell his kids this story. And he's going to be able to, if anybody he knows goes through anything similar, he's going to be like, hey, we need to have a conversation. Meet me for a coffee. I need to tell you some stuff here, and really help pivot a lot of people's lives. And there's no better feeling than that for me. So just kind of give a Cliff's Notes version of what that package will look like is, you know, first of all, when we come in, we'll just want to get to meet you and hear your story. Obviously, we're going to share ours, so you're going to know us very well at that point. And then based on your story, based on your symptoms, based on what all you've done, the first part is almost diagnostic, and it's to help us we're going to do almost like we'll make sure you're not deficient or depleted on vitamins, minerals, nutrients, things that your body just needs, period. Doesn't matter if you're sick or not. A lot of people are walking around deficient or depleted and stuff and don't know why they feel like trash. That's easy. We'll start there. We can give some really powerful nutritional advice just from what worked for us. It's more of an educational piece on the nutrition. It'll be up to you. You're not forced to do it. We'll give you several options. But it's really the removal of a bunch of problem things that is the biggest thing that you may not realize needs to go. After that, there's tests that are very common that people can do at home that'll tell you, oh, I don't metabolize like certain B vitamins properly. So even if you go buy B vitamins, a cheap source at Walmart or something, your body can't even, it's going straight in the toilet because you're taking it thinking, oh, I'm covered.
And people have seen a lot of that from popularity stuff, like Gary Abrica and some of these guys.
Yeah, this is not new, but not everybody knows that. And so we're gonna get after that we'll have pharmaceutical level nutraceuticals, which are supplements that you can take. Just means basically high quality food that will fill in those gaps in the best possible way, highest bioavailability. We'll bring our pharmacist brains to the table for these formulations,
which we've taken and tested in blood work on top of third-party lab testing.
Exactly. Like, you'll be able to talk to other people that are in your same scenario or similar. And I can't tell you the community aspect that, it really is inspirational, really lifts your mood. And I mean, just think about it. If you're debilitated and you're sick and you're in pain and you can't sleep and you're depressed, and let's say, you won the lottery or you went on a lavish vacation, are you going to be able to enjoy that? I mean, are you? Are you going to be able to have any pleasure, any fun? Are you going to be able to enjoy it if your health is so terrible that you're just constantly in pain or you're constantly suffering? No. And so that's the whole point. We just want to get our stories out. If it resonates with you, if it hits, if you're going through something similar, or you know someone who is, point them in our direction. We're going to have an absolutely zero cost, free tier that is going to be packed with value. It's going to have all kinds of information, all kinds of goodies. Once you get a little taste of good health, I promise you, nothing tastes as good as that. And then you may want to go to the next step.
And that helps us help you amplify what's going on, And we'll have the site set up. We'll have all our resources there for you. We'll have a way for you to connect with us. And we'll try to continue to put content out as much as we possibly can. So watch for all that stuff.
Another thing would just be questions. If you have questions, I would love to have a podcast dedicated once every so often that just is answering questions directly from you. Because Mandy, it's a great question. We'll do all the research we can. We'll use our own expertise, our own experience, but we'll find the best answer to. Well, and as we know, you support it. You get a symptom and you go Google it. It's your 100% of the time. Your dad already. You might as well just cash it in. You're done. So, and there's so much misinformation, so much conflicting information. You hear this and then you hear the complete opposite in the same day. Oh, I'll tell you. Which one do you believe?
Go through social media and follow every single biohacker. And again, there's a lot of great people out there, right? If you literally go through all of the contradicting studies and you go through all of the things you should take, you will die.
Exactly.
You will die.
Exactly.
There's no question an organ will shut down on those regimens.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of that information out there, almost too much.
It's just,
and so then when you sit down with this, you're like, okay, am I snorting methylene blue? Am I doing methylene blue enemas? Do I go sit in a red light therapy bed? Do I again, literally, I used to joke about Dr. Oz because, he'd recommend 4 supplements a day. I'm like, if he just go back 1 year on the supplement recommendations for a year, you die.
Yeah, well, and some people were buying every single one and taking them all. Yeah, that's so right.
So this is more to get tailored to, hey, here's the essentials, or hey, here's your blood work. Send it in. Let's look at it. Okay. Your doc might have explained some things or just said, hey, you're good. Well, for some of us, hey, you're good doesn't quite cut it. Like, what does this mean? So we're going to try to take as much confusion out of the equation as possible. Everything is going to be as pure intention as possible from us to you guys. And again, as we share our journey and the things we're doing, we are a work in progress. I mean, it's kind of never over, but it can be a lot more fun than debilitating.
Like we said,
you got to
separate those apart. And there's a positive spiral that, just like that negative one I was talking about, that downward one, there is an upward one towards optimal health. And once you start getting, you win one battle. That doesn't mean you won the war, but it gives you more motivation. It gives you momentum.
Come back and do it again.
You come back and do it again. This is in line with a passion from a long time ago, like being able to help sick people get better, not through traditional medicine model that we've got right now, which is almost like a subscription thing. That to me is very meaningful when you can give people true results and truly impact their health, to where when they go back to the doctor goes, what are you doing? Like, you look great. Your weight is in a great place. Your blood pressure and blood sugar are perfect. What you haven't been, this is not what's been going on for the past decade. What happened? And you can say, I got some answers. And so that's our hope for you, is that we can change your life. We can add value to it, and that you can then add value to others and change the lives around you.
Exactly. That's the whole vision. Right. So we got a lot coming. We got a lot to do. We have a lot of work in front of us. So stay tuned for all the things that are coming. We look forward to helping, again, as many people as we possibly can. And quite frankly, you guys will be helping us at the same time. I mean, that joy of living out your passion, what better mental place to be in? So
There's nothing better. Yeah.
all right, guys, we'll see you on the next one. Thank you.